Andy Johnson. This is a video on teaching poetry or using poetry in a literacy or language arts class from kindergarten through graduate school. Defining our terms. Poetry is using words to paint a picture. Now, it's not a photograph, it's a rendering. That means it goes where thick descriptions can't always get to. It's an arrangement of words like an arrangement of flowers put together for various effect in impact, and it varies in forms. And poetry gives shapes to our feelings. Often we don't quite know what we're thinking or feeling. We don't understand, but we're able to describe these things using images and sounds and associations, and it begins to give shape to what we think and feel. As an example, this is a poem. My grandfather has Alzheimer's. He doesn't understand. It makes me unhappy, but not mad. But I think memories. When Grandpa would put me on his lap, sing Ride a Cock Horse, and bounce me up and down, I would listen to his funny jokes, see his twinkle in his eye, smell the aroma of Grandma's cooking. Grandpa's falling asleep. Carefully I get off his lap, quiet not to wake him. Hear his quiet breathing, which give me no worries, no cares. Now I look into Grandpa's eyes. Nothing shows he understands, except the twinkle in his eyes. Poetry is an effective tool for advancing students' language skills because it calls for careful observation and the precise use of words. Poetry writers have to be attuned to the patterns, sounds, rhythms, and subtle effects of words. And poems are meant to be read aloud. As you'll notice today, there's a certain rhythm, certain tempo that simply can't be captured on the page. And I'll make sure I slow down because I'm going to read some poems today. But poems do not have to rhyme. Too often, the form gets in the way of the function. Now, haikus are the greatest villain. People think it's great because they're relatively simple, although they're not. The form of the haiku gets in the way of actually creating and expressing. This is one of the reasons why I recommend at all ages you start with free verse. There's no rules in free verse. There's no line length or capitalization or punctuation. Anything goes as long as you use words to paint a picture. Now, with older students, I recommend what is in their life, their vocabulary. Start with a study of song lyrics, which are poems put to music. So, creating poems, a couple things. Creating poems starts by reading poems every day or most days. Reading poems aloud will get students ready to create them, start to share your own, and they begin to hear the sound of the language. So here's a poem starter I'm going to show you. It looks like that. First, students find a writing topic. Second, they brainstorm to generate ideas for things that can be seen, heard, or felt. See there. Third, they look for similarities to other things in order to create metaphors and similes, just like. Students organize their ideas and then read the poem out loud, experimenting with the sounds of words and sentences. Now, I started with that and I filled in the blanks. Biking. I hear the wind. Farms and fields, cows and pastures. Deep breaths. I smell the richness of nature, the earthiness of the farm. Covered in sweat, my thoughts expanding, drinking lots of water. I feel alive. Now notice as I read, there was just a tempo, a rhythm, and a pausing, a natural pausing of things as I described my biking. Now, poetry forms and techniques. Forms are a way of organizing idea. However, teachers should stress that these forms are simply a way of organizing ideas. Students should be able to choose the form that they want to use. Never, ever, ever let form get in the way of ideas. A form is a starting place. And as you'll see in some of the poems, we have a starting place, but I can abandon the form or modify the form if it gets in the way. So I'm going to demonstrate 16, count them, poetry strategies, techniques, form, whatever you want to call them, there'll be 16 of them. And of course, the first is free verse, no required form, a good place to start. When I first got to the university, I would go running and I went to the locker room, and it was so familiar because I wrestled in college, and it brought a sense of familiarity towards me. The college locker room, large, rows and rows of metal lockers. Benches held in place by firm steel girders. Order, symmetry, all is right in this universe. Humanity enters, voices talking now. Showers splash water in echoing chambers. The smell of competition and sweaty clothes permeate the locker room smell. Disinfectant, words bounce merrily from one end to another. Talk of games and running and exercise. Behind a cage, old men pass out towels and repair football helmets. Free verse, describing, using words to paint a picture. The second one is called the I poem. Start the first line with an I and everything follows begins with the I. You can use this with characters in a book, historical characters, my I poem. I am Andy. I'm sometimes called Dr. Johnson. I love my dog and wife. I have 4 brothers. I am from a small town. I like to bike. I like going to concerts and plays. I don't like olives and tomatoes. I am happy when I'm creating. I'm sad when movies have sad endings. I get mad when people are disrespectful or mean. I hope to write the best book ever. I used to teach 2nd grade. I used to coach wrestling. I am Andy. Get the idea, an I. Or a famous person. I am called Bluffy the Clown. I have large rubber shoes. I have a big red nose. I do tricks. I make people laugh. I sometimes make people scream. I wonder why some people are afraid of clowns. I hide in closets. I jump out and scare people when they come home. I hold a large meat cleaver above my head. I'm just joking here, don't get freaked out. I scream very loud. I think this is very, very funny. I laugh really hard. I am hilarious. I poem. This is great with science, especially with the younger grades, to personify. I am a bird. I fly high. I am a bird, always looking for food. I am a bird, going south for the winter. I am a bird, at your bird feeder. Now, this is an I poem, and I didn't follow it exactly, and that's okay, but it's also a form of repetition, where every other word is I am a bird. Form just gives you a starting place. You can break the form. If I were a poem, if I were an object or somebody else or something else, if I were a red ball, I would play outside all day long. Kids would kick me. Kids would throw me, mistake there, in the air. Kids would bounce me on the sidewalk. Kids would throw me around. Get the idea. If I were a clown, I would paint on my face. I would squeeze into little cars. My shoes would always be too big. My hats would always be too little. I would fall down a lot. Children would laugh at me. Some people would scream and run for me. Now this one only used the if on the first sentence. Again, form and rules are simply a starting place. Alliteration is a repetition of words with similar beginning sounds. One way to do this is to identify a topic and a keyword and then generate a bunch of words with the same beginning, and then you can arrange them. For instance, we were looking at balloons. Balloons, big bust. Balloons. Balloons are the best. Balloons can be big. Balloons can be small. Balloons can be blue. You blow them up. balloons burst with a bang. If you don't hold on, balloons blow away in the big blue sky. Bye birds and bye clouds and bye balloon. Buh, buh. Oh, this was a fun one. This is a nonsense poem. It's called Baboons and Bubbles. Baboons and bubbles and big blue bottles. Bedtimes and books and bad ugly monsters. Bike breaks and ice breaks, nice breaks and mice wakes and earthquakes, baboons and bubbles and big bottles. And this poem means absolutely nothing. I was just having fun with the language here. And that's okay. They don't all have to have meaning. This one was done in a second grade science unit. Seashells, shiny, stuck in the silky sand, like chocolate chips in a cookie. Shapes along the shore, sharp and round seashells. A lot of s and some k, k, k. Tests are terrible. They are tough. I am touchy when I take them. They can be trouble. I am a mess with stress. You need time to use your mind and study tests. There's some st and some s words there. Doesn't have to exactly be beginning sound, but a lot of similar sounds. Assonance, repetition of words that have similar vowel sounds. Same process as alliteration. Again, our class generated a bunch of words here. Turtle. In June, I was walking and whistling a tune, tune, tune. Ooh, I saw him move. A turtle, beautiful. Soon, I thought, you will be on my spoon as turtle soup. Jane's birthday. Jane was turning 8. Ray made a maple cake for Jane. Ray asked Brady to take the maple cake to Jane. Brady took the maple cake to Jane. Jane ate Ray's maple cake. Delicious. I don't like this one. And this is why you read it out loud. This one just doesn't have a flow and a rhythm. It sounds kind of like a controlled vocabulary story. That's why you read them out loud. But you get the idea. Onomatopoeia. Using words to imitate a sound. Mosquito. Zzz. I sleep peacefully. Bzzz. The little intruder comes, blit. It lightly lands on my arm, zoink. It jabs me with its stinger, slurp. It sips my blood, smash. He is no more. And what I do is I think of an event or situation, then generate a list of actions, then ascribe sounds to each action, and then arrange the ideas and sounds to create a poem. All right, repetition. As it implies, any repetition of words, phrases, or sentences. And you notice I have the my every other. My ears assaulted, arm clock screech. My eyes pried open, creak. My feet hit the floor, thud, thud. My head is empty, echo, echo, echo. My veins are screaming, coffee, coffee, coffee. My goodness, I hate mornings. Repetition. Persona. This is when you speak in the voice of an object or an animal, and this is great for science classes. If you're studying the physical world, you can become that thing. Rock. This is a geology class. Again, I used to teach second grade. I sit all day minding my own business. I don't say naughty things. I don't tease anybody. But people walk on me. And sometimes little boys throw me at cows. And again, this is the intersection of art and science and everything that is. And this is why teaching, well, you could do this in grades K through graduate school, actually, to bring art into all subjects. Personification is giving human qualities to non-human things. Again, teaching a space unit, we looked at rockets in second grade. Rocket. A rocket sits on the pad, sleeping beautifully. All of a sudden, it comes to life. It grumbles and rumbles angrily. It blasts and bellows. It screams and jumps into the air. Off, off, off! Into space to quietly watch the stars. Is poems used to describe an object, emotion, person, thing, or event start with a topic and then followed by is. Something is, something is. Teaching is fun. Teaching is hard work. Teaching is planning. Teaching is doing. Teaching is people. Teaching is families. Teaching is important. Teaching is teachers. Teaching. Or I could simply, if I wanted to revise, teaching, fun, hard work, planning, doing, people, family, important, teachers, teaching. Ooh, I just thought of that just now. I could eliminate the whole is thing. Is poems with a metaphor. You state the metaphor, then explain it, or simply a list of metaphors. The metaphor, teaching is a journey. You start at the beginning. You're always moving forward. You're growing and changing. You're never in the same place. You pick up new skills along the way. You meet many new people. There are hills and valleys. There are turns in the road. Teaching is a journey. Found poems. You use words found in a book, chapter, or article to create a poem, and you paint a word picture. I would say this is third grade and above. Like in a science or social studies book, the rules are you can create your poem, but you have to use words on this page or words in this chapter. You can give them a topic, or you can get them using these new words in new and interesting ways. Or you can have some mandatory words if you want to expand vocabulary. You're limited only by your imagination, and that's the lovely thing about teaching. Cinquains, 5 lines or different versions, but the one constant is you begin and end with one word. And don't let word counts get in the way of a great poem. Some have 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It doesn't matter. Just get the poem out. Sasha, happy loving, snuggling, barking, wagging, naps with me. Sasha. Hunting, free, childlike, talking, joking, walking. Hunting is great. Deer. Here's where you see the precision of words. You have to, since you're limited by words, you have to find just the right word or words to convey the thought or image. Is like poem. State the simile, then explain or simply a list of similes. Teaching is like writing a paper. During the pre-writing phase, you prepare. You get new information. You take classes. You plan and organize. During the draft, you have field experiences. You try new things. You make mistakes. You're not expected to be perfect. Most of your time is spent revising, reflecting, wondering, getting better, getting feedback, talking with others, moving things around. Editing is refining new strategies, new lessons, new ideas. Sharing is an important part of writing and teaching. It is recursive. You keep going back to earlier stages. Teaching is like writing a paper. Rhyming poems. You can have different forms, AABB, ABA, ABC. You'll see. You start with a sentence and you generate rhyming words. If I'm doing this in large groups, I would say something like, I like to dream. Boys and girls, let's generate a bunch of words some words that rhyme with dream. And they'd list them. Okay, let's get a second sentence. Jumping softly into a mystical steam. Touch the universal mind. Let time slip far behind. Our life is but a dream, and we roll merrily, merrily down its stream. That is one form of poem. Now, that was one I obviously wrote. I didn't write that with a class. But I could say, playing tennis is fun. Let's generate some unwords. Okay, you're outside in the sun. You play in the summer. Summer, bummer. Yes, winter weather is a bummer. You have to run, run, run. Playing tennis is fun. Another error there. I did this morning. Okay, picture poems. You start with a picture and you insert words. You can start with the words and create a picture, or you could create words and pictures together. So start with a picture and insert words, start with the words and create a picture, and you see some examples here. Limited only by your imagination. And here's a nice picture, and however you want to do this, in a twist, aimless. You get the idea. All right, this has been 16 ideas related to poetry. Poetry is using words to create a picture, and the rules are there are no rules. The function should not get in the way of the form. Never let the function get in the way of a good idea.